Hey guys, um, I promised you a video that had to do with percents and trying to maybe make them a little bit clearer. So that's what I'm doing. I'm going to be using my dot cam on my whiteboard because I think that's easier than using the share screen. Um, so hopefully this helps. Um, Percents are actually very easy once you get down the rules of what percentages are. So I don't want you to get all bogged down. They're definitely not anything to get freaked out about, not like fractions. um, so without further ado, let us talk about then percents. Whiteboard. Hello, whiteboard. Okay, so a percent literally means per hundred. Per hundred. So just like you have just like ratios, you're comparing like a 2 to 3. So for every 2 of something, you have 3 of something else. Meaning that if you have then, the logical extension of that is if you have, say, 6 of something, then you would have 9 of that something else. That still maintains the 2 to 3 ratio. Um, It is the same with percents, only that second number is always going to be 100. Okay, so if you're talking about 15%, you're talking about 15 to every 100. Meaning that if you are talking about 600, then this number right here is going to be 90. Okay? Oh, my Kleenexes. So anyway, percent simply means per 100. And percents are ratios that compare a quantity to 100, period. Okay, so again, for example, 33% means 33 per 100. And percents can be written any number of ways, not any number of ways, but I mean, they can also be written as a fraction, which would be 33 over 100, or as a decimal, which would be 0.33. Okay, so just like a decimal can be written, any decimal number can be written as a fraction, any fraction can be written as a decimal. This is also true of percentages. Percentages can be written as fractions or decimals. Any one of these can also be written as a fraction. So these are all kind of interchangeable. You just have to figure out how they all work. I'll give you a chance to look at that and maybe write it. If you want to pause the movie and write that down somewhere so that you can get that into your head, that'd be great. Okay. Now, anytime you have a percent, you can put the number over 100 and get rid of the percentage sign, and that will make it a fraction. So if you have, again, that 33%, and you want to make it into a fraction, you just have to get rid of this and put it over 100. Because, and the reason this works is because 33% is the same as you take this 33, and instead of this here, you would take it as a decimal and move it over to the left 2 spaces. So that equals 0.33, and a decimal that goes out to this space, which is the hundredth space, would be put over this fraction because it's a hundredths. So 33 over 100. Okay, so if you were to have, back to maybe that 15 that I was talking about, 15%, if you want to make it into a decimal, you would move this and start here and go over to the left 2 times. And so that equivalent, the decimal equivalent of 15% is 0.15, which is 15 hundredths, which means that it goes 15 over 100. Okay? So these are all equal to one another. This is equal to this is equal to this. And this is equal to this is equal to this. All right. So once again, if you are changing a percent, if you're writing a percentage as a fraction, let's say 3%. As a fraction, you would just have to take this off and put it over 100. 3 over 100. If you have 25%, you would just take this off and put it over 100. But be careful, this cannot be your answer because it's not simplified. This is the same as 1 over 4. Okay? And any fraction can be written as a percentage. So we have 11 over 100, which is the same as 11%. 1/5 can be written as a percentage, but you can't leave it that way. This has to be 100. So you have to expand it out. So what do you do to make this 100? You multiply it by 20. So 5 times 20 is equal to 100. And whatever you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top, right? So 1 times 20 is 20. And that would be equal to 20%. I hope I've got you. I know, I bet you guys thought, oh, we're doing percentages. We're not doing fractions anymore. Sorry to disappoint. Okay. So now to write a percentage as a decimal, you'd have to remember about where your decimal point goes in terms of a decimal. So 65%, you can write it as 65 over 100. And that's 65 hundredths, which you would write as 0.65. Okay. One thing I want to show you though is if you have a percentage of 6.5, which you can absolutely have, you still have to move your decimal over 2 points. So you start here, 6.5 over 100, and you would take this 6.5 and you move it over 2 spots, which means you have to move it over here, and then you'd have to move it over here and put a 0 right there. So it would now be 0.065. Okay, To turn a fraction into percent, you divide the numerator by the denominator, and that's how you would work that out. But so if this number wasn't 100, if it was, say, as just a fraction, let's say 5/8, and you want to find out what the percentage is on that, you just the same way that you were trying to find like a decimal, you would put your 5 in here and your 8 there. You would still put your decimal up there because 8 does not go into 5, so you'd have to put a 0 here. 8 goes into 50. 8 times 6, 6 is 48. 50 minus 48 is 2. We'd have to bring this out a little bit more, drop another 0. 8 goes into 20, 6 times. 6 times 8 is, that is wrong. 6 times 2 is actually the correct answer here. 8 goes into 20, 2 times. 16, 4, drop one more 0. 8 goes into 4 5 times. So 0.625. And then we would move this decimal over to the right to make it a percentage. So the percentage, 62.5, is, the percentage is equal to 5/8. Okay, I hope that makes some sense. So basically, the lesson here is that decimals, fractions, percentages can all be changed from one to the other just with a little bit of math. Knowing what that math is may be a little bit difficult, but I mean, you can get it. It's not that hard. Okay, so once you get the decimal form of the answer, move the decimal 2 spaces to the right and include the percentage sign, and that's the end. So any number that doesn't have a decimal point has an invisible decimal point. So if we have the number 14, say, and we want to know which way of a decimal is going, we don't even see a decimal. This is a whole number, which means that it's all to the left of the decimal point. It's an invisible decimal point until you need to put it there. Okay, so there is another method to solve problems by setting up a proportion. And you might have done some of this when you were doing proportions. And I think that you had, when you were doing ratios and rates, I think that included proportions. This isn't really, it's not easier or less easy, but some people may show you how to do this. You can do it by, like, say, if you had 5/8 like we were doing, and we needed to find out what that percentage was. So we know that it's going to be 100 here, and what we don't know is what's going to go here. So we're going to make that an x, x for the unknown number. So we're going to do what's called cross solving. So we're going to multiply over here and multiply over here. And that's going to give us, on one side, this one right here, 8 times x, and on the other side, it's going to give us 5 times 100. Now, does it matter what side of the things it goes on? No, because this equal sign means that this is going to equal this no matter what side they go on. So you could have written it 5 times 100, or and 8 times x on the other side, and it's exactly the same because they're equal. Now we're going to solve it out, and you're going to learn more about this when we're doing number distribution and stuff. But 8, of course, times x equals 5 times 100, which is 500. We needed to isolate the x, So we need to keep it on this side. And since this is right here, multiplication, we're going to use division. And division, another way of doing division is through a fraction. So we're going to put this divided by 8, and if we do it on one side of the equal sign, we have to do it on the other. Okay, this cross cancels, so this becomes x, and when you divide this out, it becomes 0.625. Yeah? So x equals, when we move the decimal over, it is 62.5%. Okay. Well, there's a lot of information here, so I want you to just kind of not be afraid of it. Look at the video a couple of times until it makes some sense to you. And yeah, just watch it a couple of times. Tomorrow, I'm going to put up another video that kind of solves some problems, and maybe we can work that out. We'll work the problems out together. Actually, what I'm going to do, I'm going to work it out right now. We'll work at least one. So here's one problem. Write 45% as a fraction. Okay, so remember, all we have to do in order to write it as a fraction is get rid of that percentage and put it over 100. So 45 over 100 is a fraction. Can we present that as the final answer? No. And the reason we can't present that as the final answer is because both of these numbers are divisible by 5. So we actually have to reduce it. So 45 over 100, and we're going to divide by 1 in the form of a fraction. This is 1, because any number that's on top of itself is 1, right? So 45 divided by 9, or 5, is 9. And 20 divided by, oh my goodness, I should start doing these videos at night because I'm just tired. 100 divided by 5 is 20. And that cannot be broken down any further. So 9 over 20 is the answer to write 45 over 100 as a fraction. Okay. All right. Let's see here. Right. 95.4% as a decimal. Now remember, all we have to do is take this 95.4 and move the decimal. And take that there. We'll move the decimal over 2 places to the left. And that right there is our decimal, 0.954. And just for fun, if we wanted to make that into a fraction, we would have to realize that this is carried out to the thousandths place. So we would put this over 1,000, and then we would reduce it from there. Want me to give you a preview or what we're going to be working for towards after percentages? We're going to break this down right here. 954. I'm going to take 2, and that's going to be 954 divided by 2 is going to be 4. It's going to be 8, 1, 15. 2 divided by 15. 15 divided by 2, excuse me, is 7. 7 times 2 is 14. Drop the 1, drop that 4 all the way down, and that's going to be a 7. 477. Now, we're going to consult our handy dandy blue book because we need to know where we go to from there. The divisibility rules. We know it's not an even number. 477 is not an even number. But we're going to see if it can be divided by 3. And we know it'll be divided by 3 if the sum of its digits is divisible by 3. So its digits is 477. 4 plus 7 is 11. Plus 7 more is 18. So we know that this is divisible by 3. So there's 3 there. 477 divided by 3. 3 goes into 4 one time. 1 times 3 is 3. 4 minus 3 is 1. We're going to drop the 7. 3 goes into 17 5 times. 5 times 3 is 15. 17 minus 15 is 2. Drop the 7 down here. 3 goes into 27 9 times. So this is 159. Now, is that divisible by 3? Let's see. If you add 1 and 5, that's 6. And then 6 plus 9 is 15. That is divisible by 3. So we're going to go back over here to 3 and do it again. 159 divided by 3. 3 goes into 15 5 times. 5 times 15 is 15. 15 minus 15 is 0. We're going to drop down to 9. 3 goes into 9 3 times. Okay. So 53. Now, is the sum of the digits divisible by 3? 5 plus 3 is 8, so it is not. It's not divisible by 4 because it's not even. It's not divisible by 5 because it's not a 0 or a 5. And if the number is even and is divisible by 3, that's not even. Okay, so none of these other divisibility rules apply, so let's look at the back where our prime numbers are. You see that? Oh, look at that. 53. It's a prime number. So, we know that 954, the prime numbers are 2, 3, 3, and 53. Wow. Did you hear that? That was scary. So we know with 200, if we divide it by 2, it's 477 over 1,000. I'm sorry, over 500. And I'm pretty sure that's as far as, yeah, because the next thing that we're going to be dividing it by is 3, and 500 does not go into 3, or 3 doesn't go to 500 evenly. I know this isn't making a lot of sense because I'm being dumb tired right now, but we were able to find out how far we can reduce this, and it reduces down to 477 over 500. And that would be the final answer on whether or not we can make this into a fraction. But again, because we were only asked to make it as a decimal, we take that 95.4%, move the decimal over 2 places to the left, then it becomes 0.954. All this other stuff. Well, you are going to be doing it. I don't want you to worry about it too much tonight, or today, or this morning, or whenever it is you're watching this video. Well, I hope I didn't confuse you more than you were already. But I want you to know that it's not as hard as it may seem. It's just a new concept, and don't let it get you down on that. As soon as we finish with percentages, which we'll finish this week, we have 2 weeks to work on other things that I think are going to be a lot more fun, a lot easier, and a lot more. It'll play a lot more into what you'll be needing to know for next year. So in that regard, it'll be more valuable. So anyway, here you go. There's that, and I will see you later.